I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I am many things and many people. I am the nation. I am 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I am Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, and Davy Crockett. I'm Lee.
Coming to you from the DTOM Studios in the free state of Florida, sponsored by Maker's Mark Bourbon, this is Don't Tread on Merica. How's everybody doing out there today? It is Wednesday, July 15th, 2016. How's everybody doing out there today? It is Wednesday, right? Yeah, okay, it is Wednesday. I forgot. All right. So, a couple things, guys, real quick before we get into it. We have another sponsor to the show. I found this out after the show was written, so I'm going to tell you about it now. Celsius Energy Drinks, guys. Check out the link at the bottom of the podcast app, and once you're listening to this on, I'll put a link up there so you can click the link. It'll take you to there, and you can buy you some Celsius energy drinks. That is actually the energy drinks that I use when I drink an energy drink. I don't do them all the time, but when I need one, that is the one I go for. It is actually the cleanest energy drink out there. Please check out the link, buy some Celsius. All right. Also, make sure you follow the show on social media. Don't Tread on America on Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker. And, of course, on the Twitter X Machine DTOM Podcast 1776. Also, you can go to the website, DontTreadonMerica.com. Don't forget about the DTOM Store, guys. Like I said before, I don't take any profits from that. Everything is gifted to Tunnels to Towers, so please check that out. Get you some show merch, T-shirt, license plate frame, whiskey glass, so on and so forth. We got all kinds of stuff. Stickers seems to be the popular thing on the website, so check that out. And also, if you have any questions, concerns, comments, anything you want to reach out to me, you can hit me up on the email. That would be donq at DontTreadonMerica.com. All right, now we're going to kick it out with a little bit of Damn Yankees, Don't Tread on America version, courtesy of one Ted Theodore Nugent. This is the jam of all jams. Guys, I got a good show for you today. This is something I've been thinking about lately with all the ads we see on TV and everything you see on the news about the medical industry and pharmaceuticals. And this kind of hits close to home for me. So I wanted to dive into why we take so many pills. As a country, this is interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, truth seekers and fellow red pillars, welcome back to another episode of Don't Tread on America. Of course, I'm your host, Don Q, coming to you live from the bunker of freedom. Today, we are going nuclear on the biggest heist in American history. Bigger than Standard Oil, bigger than the Federal Reserve, bigger than any election scandal you've ever heard. We're talking the Rockefeller medical cartel, the Flexner Report takeover, how they turned your body into a lifelong subscription service for poison pills, why natural remedies got demonized like they were the enemy of the state, and why this whole rigged game smells like inter-party shenanigans from the top to the bottom. Not confirmed, so what? The government hides information every single day. Just because they haven't stamped confirmed conspiracy on the file doesn't mean the files don't exist in some basement in Langley or some Rockefeller Foundation vault. We're not dismissing anything. We're connecting every dot they don't want connected. This episode's going to be a good one because the truth deserves every minute. We've got audio clips, article deep dives, historical parallels stretching back centuries, and zero holding back on conspiratorial fire. So buckle up. This is the Flexner's Poisoned Empire. Guys, open your medicine cabinet right now. Count the bottles. If you're average, you've got several. If you're over 65, you probably have 5 or more. Recent data shows nearly 2/3 of American adults are currently taking at least one prescription drug. Many on 3, 4, 5 plus. We're talking billions of prescriptions filled every year. Lifetime projections: a huge chunk of your life spent popping pills for conditions that were barely diseases a generation ago. ADHD in kids is exploding. Antidepressants handed out like candy. Statins for cholesterol numbers that used to be normal. Opioids that created a crisis then fixed with more pills. Acid reducers, sleep aids, blood pressure meds, the list never ends. This isn't organic progress. This is engineered dependency. They made you sick with the food supply, the chemicals in everything, the stress of their system. Then they sell you on the cure that keeps you just sick enough to keep buying. Reoccurring revenue from chronic illnesses, a healthy population that fixes itself with the cheap herbs, diet, sunlight, and movement. That's a threat to the quarterly earnings. Excuse me. I'm getting sick. No, I'm joking. So let's expand. Why the explosion? Direct-to-consumer ads. Okay? And this is what brought my attention to do this, is you watch TV every day, anytime, news, sitcoms, ESPN, whatever you're watching. And you'll see it at least in every commercial break, at least one commercial for some type of medication of whatever kind. Whether you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to cure depression, you're trying to, fix your AIDS, whatever it is, you see these. I'm sure it's not just me. It's not like I'm just watching the news and it's like, here's a Ozempic ad, here's a, whatever. Different things, right? Only in America and New Zealand allow this madness. Those are the only 2 countries in the whole world that allow pharmaceutical ads. Pharma reps in every doctor's office. Guidelines written by people on the payroll. Medical schools teaching pill first. and the revolving door between the FDA, NIH, and Big Pharma boardrooms. This isn't incompetence, it's the system working exactly as designed. So we're going to do a commercial break right here. I pretty much timed that perfectly. You're welcome. Hey, Merica, tired of the same old corporate smokes and vapes choking your freedom? Switch to Alp nicotine pouches. Clean, discreet, tobacco-free satisfaction without smoke and mirrors. Flavor that actually tastes good. No messy ash, and perfect for the patriot on the go who wants to stay sharp while fighting the machine. And right now, if you go to alppouch.com/DTOM, you'll knock 20% off your first order. Alp, because real Americans deserve real choices, not another tax on your lungs. Support the show, support freedom. Alp nicotine pouches is the only pouch that I use. Thank you, Alp nicotine pouches, for sponsoring this show. We'll be right back in just a second. Now, if you're watching this on Rumble at DontTreadonMericaTV, you notice that I held up my Alp, because I do take these. I took one just before I started recording. I have 3 left in this tin. Don't worry, I've got plenty. They hooked me up. And you also notice me drinking whiskey, and you might be thinking, Don, you're promoting nicotine. You're promoting whiskey. The show, one of your main sponsors is Maker's Mark Bourbon. How is that healthy? Okay, well, here's a little thing. I do research. I was curious about nicotine pouches, not just Alp, but nicotine pouches in general. And so I did a little research. Do you know that nicotine is actually good for you? Now, mind you, they have to put these little labels on here. This product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Okay, it is. I'm not gonna lie. However, nicotine, pure nicotine, is actually good for you. Do your own research. Don't believe me. You'll see commercials on Facebook and whatever promoting other type of pouches, energy pouches and those types of things that are made with chemicals. Okay, now I'm not saying this because I want you to go buy Alp. I want you to buy Alp because they sponsor the show and it's a good product. However, there's other brands out there. Do your own research. Do what you want. These actually, I've tried Zen. I've done Grizzly. I've done Lucy. I've done them all, just about. And I'm not just saying this because they're a sponsor of the show. They're a sponsor of the show because their shit is actually good. If it wasn't good, I would use someone else, and I would either have them as a sponsor. I wouldn't have a nicotine pouch sponsor. I would just take those nicotine pouches. So that's the truth of the matter. Okay? Whiskey, in moderation, is, once again, actually good for you. Whiskey, compared to other alcohol, is actually one of the more healthiest choices compared to, say, tequila. Well, tequila is probably the second most popular. Rum is decent for you, but it's the way that whiskey is aged in the oak barrels that actually have benefits to them. Okay, I'm not just saying this because I want you to drink whiskey and take out products. I'm telling you, do your own research. Since I've started doing these things, I very rarely get sick. And that's the truth of the matter. I take zinc, I take magnesium. These are not prescribed pills. These are minerals that you should be taking on a regular basis. I'm not a doctor. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to do your own research. And this is the truth for me. When I take these natural minerals, these things help me. They help me sleep. They help me work. They help me stay healthy. Okay, and I'm going to get into some of the other things that I do to try and stay as healthy as I possibly can. So, the official story is quite boring as to how the medical and pharmaceutical industry started. 19th century apothecaries in Germany and the US started extracting morphine and quinine from plants. Then chemical companies like Bayer and Hoist turned dye making into drug making. Pfizer started as a chemicals outfit in 1849. Synthetics took over. End of story. That's the surface. The real architects saw an opportunity to monopolize health itself. Enter the chemical barons who realized petrochemicals from oil could create synthetic drugs that could be patented. Natural plant medicines, well, they're hard to patent. They're hard to control, hard to profit from forever. Germany led early, then America, but the steering happened right here in the good old US of A. I'm going to play this clip. This is from Eustace Mullins. He wrote a book, Murder by Injection. Okay, so let's play this.
I had not paid much attention to the medical profession. I thought, well, these are doctors who are curing people. They work in the hospital long hours, you know, and they're probably a public asset. And I thought that simply because I hadn't had any contact with them, fortunately for me. And other people who have had contact with them had a different view. Either they were furious, or they were disgusted, or they were dead. And so this was the status of the people who employed the medical profession in the United States, the average American citizen. And the doctors, during this period, as part of the drug trust and the medical monopoly, had various instruments furnished to them by the other monopolies. For instance, the oil monopoly of John D. Rockefeller at Standard Oil had gone into the petrochemical business, and through extensive research they had developed certain medications which they called wonder drugs, and the public, as they took these drugs, they would wonder what was going to happen to them. That's why they were wonder drugs. Others were called miracle drugs. They were called miracle drugs because if you took them and you survived, it was really a miracle. So this was the contribution of the monopolists to the medical monopoly. And the only thing that these drugs had in common was that they were enormously expensive. Now, in contrast, most of nature's remedies are enormously inexpensive. They're available, they're abundant, they're cheap, which means that the medical monopoly did not want you to use any of these medications. They wanted the greatest achievement of the modern drug trust was the invention of the $1,000 pill. They have now they have one pill which costs $1,000, which you use in cancer and various things. And nature, unfortunately, has never learned how to make a $1,000 pill. So obviously, nature is no good as far as the medical monopoly is concerned.
Well, tell us a little bit, just before we get into that also, there's a difference between homeopathic medicine and allopathic, and that's part of what we're discussing also. Tell us a little bit about that, if you would, Eustace Mullins.
Well, what you're talking about is a historic situation. In the 19th century, most Americans thrived on what is called homeopathic medicine, which is mostly naturopathic remedies available through nature in abundance at low cost. Well, the medical monopoly, which was formed in 1847 as the American Medical Association, they didn't like this. They thought, how are doctors going to get rich, and how are we going to control the people through the medical monopoly when they can go to these homeopathic people and get these remedies at very low cost? So the first plank of the AMA was, we will never allow any homeopathic physician to become a member of the AMA, and they never have. So, but the AMA was still in a minority. So around the turn of the century, John D. Rockefeller realized there were great potentialities of profit in the medical industry, and so he took over the medical profession. Now you say, how could anybody take over the medical profession? Well, first you have to have a lot of money, and second you have a lot of power. Well, he had both, and he did. So he revamped the entire medical system of treatment of the people of the United States, which had been homeopathic. He switched it over to allopathic medicine, which is a different type of practice, originating in Germany. And the great attraction of allopathic medicine is it relies on radical surgery. I mean, if you can't cure it, cut it off. And the heavy use of drugs, because when you're having your limbs cut off, you need a lot of drugs because it's very disturbing, and lengthy hospital stays, none of which are features of homeopathic medicine. It's entirely the reverse. So by taking over the medical industry in 1910, Through studies which he made through the Carnegie Foundation, John D. Rockefeller emerged as the kingpin of the medical monopoly in the United States.
So he goes on to discuss this. I don't want to play the whole interview. It's like 30 minutes long, but you get the point to this, right? Mullins laid it out decades ago. The medical conspiracy against America wasn't accidental. It was built by design. The same families and interests that built banking monopolies and oil empires saw medicine as the ultimate control grid. Early patent medicines were Wild West snake oil. Some worked, some didn't. The 1906 Pure Food and Drug Act cleaned up some of that, but it also paved the way for the regulated monopoly we have now. Who benefited? The big players who could afford the new rules. So, Rockefeller then creates the medical schooling industry. And here it is, guys, the smoking gun. John D. Rockefeller, the oil tycoon who already controlled Standard Oil and wanted more, he didn't just want your gas tanks, he wanted your bloodstream. In 1910, the Flexner Report drops. Abraham Flexner, not even a doctor, tours 155 medical schools funded by Carnegie Foundation, but backed hard by Rockefeller money through the General Education Board. He declares most schools inadequate, recommends closing them, raising standards to favor scientific, allopathic medicines, university affiliation, and lab work. The result? Over half of the medical schools in America closed or merged in the following decades. Homeopathic schools, well, they shut down or forced to drop their curriculum. Botanical, eclectic, and physiomedical is gone. Many black medical schools were wiped out. Women's opportunities crushed for generations. Rockefeller poured millions into the surviving schools that played ball. Why? Well, because his petrochemical empire could supply the raw materials for synthetic drugs. Natural remedies threatened that. You can't own a dandelion or a willow bark the way you own patented molecular cooked up in a lab from oil derivatives. Excuse me. This wasn't reform. This was a hostile takeover of American medicine. The AMA became the enforcer. State boards licensed only the new model. Doctors were trained from day one. Reach for the prescription pad. Prevention, lifestyle, herbs, nutrition, that's unscientific quackery.
We have an evil and corrupt medical system. You might believe that the Western medicine that we have today always existed, but it's only about 100 years old. The one you can thank is John D. Rockefeller. He was an oil billionaire that became the richest man in the United States. In 1863, he opened his first oil refinery in Cleveland. Rockefeller believed that competition was sin and that he needed to eliminate the competition. Therefore, he started to buy every oil refinery that he could find in Cleveland, and within 2 years, he owned most of them. Over a decade later, his company Standard Oil owned most oil refineries in the United States. His control over the oil market created the first American monopoly. The government didn't like this, so they forced his company to split into smaller companies. Because of Rockefeller's greed, not many people liked him. He wanted to fix his reputation, but at the same time earn even more money. Then he found a brilliant solution. Rockefeller found out that there was a way to use his oil to create drugs. His oil was only worth about a nickel per gallon, but if he used his oil to create drugs, he could earn millions of dollars per gallon. In order for him to succeed with his plan, he bought the German company IG Farben. It was the same company that would later assist Hitler when he killed Jews. Rockefeller's biggest threat was natural health. One big problem with natural remedies was that it wasn't possible to patent them. Therefore, he needed to eliminate it. The first step in the takeover of the medical system was to take over the medical schools. Rockefeller then employed a man called Abraham Flexner. His task was to make a report of the medical schools in America. Flexner was against natural health and believed that it was quackery and that hospitals needed to use allopathic scientific medicine. Flexner released his report in 1910. In his report he said that American schools should impose higher admission and graduation standards. The Congress then accepted his report and medical schools had to teach allopathic medicine. Allopathic medicine is when you use drugs to treat illnesses but don't cure them. When Rockefeller got the green light that medical schools had to teach allopathic medicine, he and the Carnegie family gave grants to medical schools. They told the medical board that they would receive money, but they had to have one representative on the board of directors. And after that, medical doctors started to treat illnesses with drugs. Rockefeller also created the American Medical Association. This organization introduced a medical licensing system. Only doctors that had a license could work as a doctor, and everyone else that used natural remedies got eliminated. The Rockefellers are one of the biggest names in the eugenics movement. It's the belief that the world is overpopulated and that we need to shrink it. Rockefeller and other elite banking families believed that they were better than anybody else and that they needed to create a pure race. The eugenics movement started in America before Hitler killed Jews. It was actually the Rockefellers that introduced this concept to him and helped him kill a lot of people. The Rockefellers also started the organization Planned Parenthood. Its aim was to reduce pregnancies in women. Bill Gates' father was once the leader of this organization, and that's the reason why Bill Gates is so involved in eugenics. The Rockefellers and other elite banking families also created the Federal Reserve. It's a central bank in America that creates money from thin air. Bankers met in secrecy in Jekyll Island 1910. Their plan was to take over the financial system. In 1913, they got the Congress to pass a bill where the money would be created from a central bank. And with the control over the production of money, the Rockefellers and other elite families could now buy everything they wanted. The aim of Big Pharma medicine is not to make people healthy. Instead, its goal is to make everyone sick, because you can't earn a lot of money if people are healthy. All drug companies work together as one network. The whole system can only continue if there are sick people. If people were healthy, then the whole system would collapse. You can't become healthy if you follow the corrupt system. Psychopaths created the medical system that we have today, and they still run it. Unless we don't realize this, we will continue to stay sick and never heal. It's time for you and me to learn about health and don't trust this evil cartel.
So, if you could hopefully understand him, what he was saying. But in general, you had a few people in the late 1800s, early 1900s that controlled everything. They controlled the oil, they controlled the banks, they controlled the food, and brought all those things together to have a perpetual sick population. And the whole point of this is to have repeat business. Why do you have mechanics? Well, because if your car breaks down, it breaks down, it breaks down. You know, it's the same system. If you're a doctor, if you're a hospital, if you're a pharmaceutical company, your whole system is based upon repeat customers. You need someone to be sick to keep on coming back. Why do you think you constantly see hospitals being built, medical offices being built, cancer research institutes being built, If they could find the cure for all these problems, they could. They probably have it. But there's no money in a cure. But if you look at Standard Oil itself, Rockefeller built the monopoly, crushed competitors, then got quote-unquote broken up, but the family influence remained. Same playbook, create the system, dominate it, survive the reform. Now, I'm going to give you a little insight to Standard Oil. Okay, so my grandfather, back in the 70s and 80s, was a chemist for Standard Oil. Now, obviously, my grandfather has since passed away 20-some-odd years ago, and I was naive to any of this 20, 30 years ago, so I didn't think much about it. He was a chemist for Standard Oil. I figured it had to do with gasoline. Chances are he was probably involved in more of this type of a situation. I don't know that to be true, but I don't know it to not be true. And when the government broke up Standard Oil, all they did was make Standard Oil break, instead of it just being Standard Oil, like back in the early 1900s into the mid 1900s, a lot of your gas stations were Standard. Then they changed to Amoco and Chevron and Exxon and Mobil. Okay, and you can identify these companies by the colors in their logos, red, white, and blue. You had other oil companies that had emerged in the 1900s, Texaco, Phillips, so on and so forth. Like Shell, that's a European or a Dutch or something oil company. BP is British Petroleum, so on and so forth. But in America, you only had a few. It seemed like there was a lot, but there really wasn't. And then we can look towards the fight against homeopathy. In the 1800s and early 1900s, regular allopathic doctors used the AMA to marginalize competitors who used gentler methods. And then Flexner finished the job. The same banking interests that created the Federal Reserve in 1913 were moving on multiple fronts: money, media, and medicine. Control the money, control the information, control the body. Now the eugenics angle, and they hate when you bring this part up, Rockefeller Foundations funded early eugenics research, population control through health, chronic illnesses as soft depopulation, kept people alive but dependent, weak, and compliant. Now, not confirmed, but ask why certain treatments get fast-tracked while cheap natural options get buried in red tape. Inter-party shenanigans and the smell of rigging. This wasn't one party versus the other. Pharma lobbying money flows through both sides. Patent extension laws, user fee laws that let pharma fund the FDA, passed with bipartisan support. Drug pricing reforms that never really get reformed, both parties posture, then the same interests win. It smells like rigging because, well, it is. The uniparty protecting the cartel, just like historical machine politics where Democrats and Republicans in certain cities cut deals behind closed doors while pretending to fight. The opposition finds dirt, theater happens, but the real dirt stays buried because both teams are on the same payroll. If you guys would actually read the actual Flexner Report, read Mullen's Murder by Injection cover to cover, he names names, foundations, and the money trail. Cross-reference with Rockefeller Foundation annual reports from the era, the pattern is there if you look. So let's do this next commercial, and then I'm going to play another video. So hang tight. All right, guys, big tech and big pharma aren't the only ones watching. Your ISP, hackers, and three-letter agencies love tracking every search about natural remedies or cartel history. NordVPN keeps your data locked down with military-grade encryption, no logs policy, and servers in 100-plus countries. Browse freely, research the truth without the algorithm shadow banning you, and protect your digital freedom. Go to NordVPN, use promo code DTOM for a massive discount plus extra months free. NordVPN, because in the fight against the machine, privacy is your first line of defense. We'll be right back in just a second. Hang tight.
I'm going to give you a little history lesson on how natural medicine got phased out and traditional pharmaceutical medicine came in. And this is just crazy, right? So there was something called the Flexner Report. And what happened was it was a report that was written by a gentleman named Abraham Flexner. He went over all the medical schools in the country, and he wrote a report saying that the holistic, the homeopathic ways of treating these illnesses was not responsible anymore. And now that they knew about this modern medicine, these modern tests, these modern advances, right? So he went ahead and discredited all these things that had been used for thousands of years and believed that modern medicine was going to be a better pick, right? But what people don't realize is he was paid by Andrew Carnegie to go do this and to basically have the smear campaign against natural medicine. He was also funded by John Rockefeller. And why? John Rockefeller was the guy who was in control of Standard Oil at the time, had all these lubricants that could be used in synthetic medications. And they came up with the plan to say, hey, we're going to get rid of this. This is the biggest business opportunity we ever seen. We're going to go ahead and get out of just the oil industry, and we're going to move into the medical industry. So then they start funding colleges, they started funding universities, and they funded them only if they would start to push the curriculum that they wanted to push. Okay, so these universities started popping up with medical schools and this and that and the other, and the curriculum was something that they were actually pushing for one reason, to make them more money, right? So in the point of the curriculum was to teach doctors how to go ahead and push products that they were going to sell, and how to name these conditions basically into, creating products for each particular condition. So the reality was, okay, that they created these medical schools, they created the curriculum, they told the doctors what to believe, they then created names for these quote unquote conditions, these group of symptoms that they called names. Each of these names allowed them to create another pill that they would then create in a lab, and they would patent and would be able to sell whatever amount they want because it wasn't naturally available. And this was their business model, and it all started with a scam smear report from this Flexner Report in 1910. It was just, it's unbelievable. I looked far into it and I said, how is it even possible that traditional medicine could have taken over natural medicine when it was around for thousands of years, right? But this is the reality of it. It was big business. It was money from the oil industry that went ahead and created a smear campaign, got rid of the homeopathic, natural physicians, etc. The good thing is it created some rigorness and some more critical evaluation of the things that were being sold, the types of medicine that were being practiced, because there was snake oil crap out there. But they all just put it in one category. They said everything was snake oil that was from plants. Meanwhile, what they did was look at plants and put them in a lab and look at their molecular structure and then mimic it in the form of synthetic medication and sell it. But yet the plant was something that was the problem, and the holistic doctor was the problem. But what they did was just rob nature, and they turned nature into something synthetic and then sold it for money. And that's what most of the supplement industry is now. That's what almost all of the pharmaceutical industry is. It was just ideas robbed from nature that they recreated in the lab, patented, and sold. And that is the history of traditional medicine.
This summer, Florida residents can...
I wasn't quick enough on that one. You don't care about that shit. We don't care about that shit. All right, so post-Flexner, anything that couldn't be patented or controlled got the boot. Herbs that work for thousands of years, dangerous. Homeopathy, pseudoscience, traditional Native American, Chinese, or Ayurvedic knowledge was marginalized or stolen, then synthesized. They demonized natural because they threatened the model. Cheap, often preventative, hard to monopolize. Some actually address root causes instead of masking symptoms forever. So I'm going to touch on a few things here, and I'm going to expand on some of these from my personal experiences. Okay, now I'm going to say this before reading all this. I'm not trying to give you medical advice. These are the things that worked for me. These are things that have been proven to work throughout history. Okay? If you are new to this show, I have been dealing with cancer now for roughly 18 years. Okay? When I was first diagnosed, I had stage 3 metastatic melanoma, and has since moved to stage 4. And if you know anything about cancer, there is no stage 5. Okay? In the 18 plus years that I've been dealing with this, I have been on a ton of different medications. Some that were actual medicine, some that were being research medicine. I was basically a guinea pig. And I did it all, from different types of chemotherapies to pills to Keytruda, you name them, I've probably done them. Okay? On top of radiation, multiple surgeries. And I'm not saying this to get any sympathy. I was told 18 years ago I had 5 years to live, maybe 7. That was 18 years ago. Here I am. Okay? About probably close to 2 years ago, year and a half ago, I was on a medicine, and for life of me, I couldn't tell you the name of it because who can? And 2 different medicines that I was supposed to take, 2 pills of each every day. And it just kicked my ass. Made me tired, made me cranky, even more so. I said, you know what? Enough's enough. So I started doing some research on natural remedies. And one of those is what I currently take every day is apricot seeds. Now, specific angles and suppressed examples. So cancer cures. Laetrile, which is B17 from apricot kernels, high-dose vitamin C, cannabis oil protocols, various herbal formulas, Mullins and others document how promising leads get attacked, researchers smeared, or quietly bought out. Now, it's very important that you buy, if you are to be so curious as to apricot seeds. Don't buy them off of Amazon. Not because I have anything against Amazon. But they do not sell the actual, they'll say you B17, but it's not actual apricot seeds. Because why? They're part of the problem as far as the machine is concerned. You have to go to varying websites, do your own research, look them up if you're curious, look it up. I use a certain brand. I've used it for a year and a half or so. Knock on wood, all my scans in that time frame has come back fine. Now, do my doctors know? No. As far as my doctors know, I'm still on my prescriptions. And as far as they know, the prescriptions are working. So let's keep doing what we're doing. Fine. Is that wrong of me? No. The reason I don't tell them is because of this. If you tell your doctor that you're taking natural remedies, they will tell you that you should not take those because it'll interfere with your medicine. My belief is that it won't interfere with your medicine. It'll interfere with their profits, because doctors prescribe medicines, whatever the doctor is, whatever you go to the doctor for, and you get prescribed something. They are being paid to prescribe you those medicines. That is fact. I'm not guessing. It's fact. Why do you think when you go to the dentist and when you leave, they give you a toothbrush from whatever company, they give you toothpaste from whatever company? Why? Because they're being paid by those companies to hand out those samples. So then you will say, I really like that toothpaste, I'm going to go buy it. And if you use over-the-counter, everyday toothpaste, Colgate, Crest, whatever brands are out there, then you're probably a moron, because fluoride is not your friend. That's why recently you've seen some cities and municipalities taking fluoride out of the water system because it does not help you. Okay? I use natural toothpaste. I use Tom's without fluoride. It works fine. Okay? Go to the dentist and they're like, hey, everything looks great. Blah, 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 whatever. Once again, I'm not telling you this to do what I do. If you want to use your Crest, your Colgate, your whatever brands are out there, knock yourself out. Using plastic toothbrushes, also bad. There's a lot of things that you could learn if you just weren't so simple to just buy the name brand that you see the commercial for. Because that's what you're doing. That's all you're doing is you see a commercial, oh, brightens teeth, it does this, it does that. I'm going to buy that. Ooh, great. Do your research, guys. So, cannabis and hemp threaten multiple Rockefeller-era industries: oil, plastic, pharma, pain medicine, illegalized despite ancient medicinal use. Hemp was one of the biggest products grown in this country back in the 17 and early 1800s. It was used for all sorts of things. Obviously, hemp, cannabis, has a side effect if you smoke it. We all know that. Maybe you've done it, maybe you haven't, but you guys get the idea. So, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they demonized and made hemp and cannabis illegal because of the drug aspect of it. However, hemp is one of the strongest materials made. Like if you make rope out of it, it's the strongest rope you're going to buy. The reason, some would argue, the reason that it was made illegal wasn't necessarily because of the drug aspect of it. It was because of the fact that they couldn't control it. Anyone can grow it. You know, I mean, you can't, but I mean, technically you can. Legally you can, but technically you can. And now they've kind of legalized it, but not because of using it for medicinal uses or using it for product, you know, plastics and rope and stuff like that. They've legalized it for you to get high and get stupid. That's why they've legalized it, to keep you in a stupor. Ivermectin, we've heard these during COVID, right? Ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, and repurposed drugs in recent crisis are suddenly dangerous when cheap and off patent. The DMSO, colloidal silver, various mushrooms, and herb protocols ridiculed until pharma vision appears. Fluoride, certain vaccines, food additives, chapters in Mullins on how they tie into a larger control system. And I'm going to give you one more situation. Is artichoke extract. I'm going to use this based on my history. Okay? So this was probably 5 years ago. I was on crack. No. I was on Keytruda. Okay? Now, Keytruda is labeled as a... it's not a... shit, what is that shit called now? Jesus Christ, you think I'm smoking weed? It's God damn it, I can't think of what it's called, how it's phrased, but nonetheless, it's like not... It's supposed to be better for you in killing cancer, okay? But what it does is Keytruda essentially boosts, quote unquote, your immune system, but it also inflames your organs, okay? And it's supposed to be an anti-cancer remedy to fight off the cancer cells. But what it does is it also enhances your organs, your liver, your kidneys, those types of things, which will also cause you to have liver failure, kidney failure, heart failure. It will kill you. Okay? Now, obviously, you guys are watching this and you're like, well, fuck, you got liver problems because you drink every day. I don't do a show every day, so I don't drink every day. And I don't always drink when I'm doing a show. In a 7-day period, I might drink 8 days a week. No. I probably drink 2, maybe 3 days a week. And I have one drink. Okay? So, back when this happened, my liver went into failure. To the point where I remember the doctor coming in. She was looking at my numbers, and I couldn't remember what the numbers were, but they were off the chart. She was expecting to come in and see me like yellow, like jaundice. I wasn't, but the numbers said otherwise. So they started putting me on steroids, okay? High-dose steroids, very high-dose steroids. Now, if you've ever been on high doses of steroids, you can agree with what I'm about to say, they will drive you absolutely insane. To the point where I was ready to kill myself. Literally. And I'm not just saying that. I was literally ready to kill myself. And I said, something has got to change. I have got to get, because every single week, I was going to the doctor for blood work to check my liver enzymes. And they stayed high in the hundreds. You're supposed to be like in the 20s. And I'm in the hundreds. And we're going up a dose. I'm taking 100 milligrams of fucking steroids every day. Every day. Okay? So finally, I did some more research. What natural remedies are out there that will help with your liver? The best thing you can take if you're having liver issues, the best thing you can take is artichoke extract, because artichoke, the plant, is the best thing you can take for your liver. However, you cannot possibly eat enough artichoke for you to fix that. However, you can take milligrams. I take 2,000 milligrams of artichoke extract every day. So an interesting side note to this was I'm taking the steroids. I start taking the artichoke extract. Went for my blood work the following week, and my numbers dropped to just above regular. So I was in the hundreds, dropped down to like 50 in 1 week. And they were like, oh, we can start weaning you off the steroids. They're finally working. This is what they thought. I never told them, but that's what they thought. The next week I go, I'm normal. They're weaning me off the steroids. I actually stopped taking the steroids because I was done. And then the following week, so I still had to do blood work every week. I did that probably for another month. And then I was fine. And they were like, hey, it worked. Hey, look at there, it worked. Whatever. I continually take the artichoke and I take the apricot. I do that every day. I do that before I go to bed. Now, I'm not telling you this because this is what you need to do. I'm telling you this because if you have any of these issues, do your own research and try it. And the reason I'm going to tell you if you are a person listening to this show and you have cancer or you have liver issues or whatever, and you're on medicine for these things, don't go to your doctor and tell them, I'm going to start taking apricot seeds, or I'm going to start doing this, or I'm going to start doing... Don't do it. Don't do it. And the reason I say that is because they're going to tell you to not do it because it's not your medicine. It's not your prescription. Why? Because, like I said, they get paid off of what they prescribe. And the only reason I can tell you this is factual is I've never told my doctors anything. They don't know anything. As far as they know, the medicine's working. Fine. My wife has a friend who also has cancer. She has lung cancer. And when I started taking these apricot seeds, and we could see the difference, and I stopped taking my prescribed medication, she told her friend, you should do this. That's what Don takes. And da-da-da-da-da. She, in turns, tells her doctor. The doctor tells her what? You shouldn't do that. It's going to interfere with your medication. Once again, no, it's going to interfere with their profits. Now, like I said, I'm not telling you this because I'm a medical doctor and I'm telling you what to do. This is what works for me. It might not work for you, but it probably will. Okay? You ever notice when I'm doing this show, sometimes I might be sick. Now, you might hear me coughing, but I've done a lot of yard work over these last day and a half, so it's a lot of the dust and stuff, so it's not sick. It's not because of whatever. But I do, just like every other person in this world, have a tendency to get a cold, right? I will get a cold. I could get a cold today. I could go to bed, wake up tomorrow, and not feel well. And go to work, because I'm not a pussy. I don't call in. I'll go to work. I'll be sick. I'll get through my day. And the first thing I do when I get home is I make a glass of whiskey. Of course you do, Don. I thought you didn't drink every day. Listen to me. I put 2 tablespoons of honey in the whiskey, and I drink that. The next day, I'll wake up, and I am perfectly fine. Now, I'm not advocating for you to go out and buy whiskey and drink whiskey. However, if you do, go get Maker's Mark. But nonetheless, if you are so inclined, get your whiskey, whatever brand. Get your honey. Get organic honey. I'm telling you, you don't even have to do the whiskey part. Just take a couple teaspoons of honey, of organic honey. You will be surprised at how quickly you will get better. You ever wonder why the Amish rarely get sick? They don't go to doctors. They don't go to your regular everyday doctors. They do this type of stuff because that's what they believe in, number one, but also that's what works. The AMA's long war on chiropractic and osteopathy, some adapted, others fought, suppression of herbal traditions worldwide when Western allopathic model was exported, similar to how other industries crushed competition, railroads versus canals, cars versus streetcars in some cities. So why do so many doctors lose licenses for straying? Why do studies on cheap naturals struggle for funding? Why the constant quack label from the same institutions tied to the foundations? The government and captured agencies hide or downplay data that doesn't serve the model, ask the questions they don't want to ask. Diet and lifestyle is as the ultimate natural remedy, suppressed because it empowers the individual, not the system. Now back to the part where doctors lose licensing. If you recall, during COVID, there was plenty of doctors who put stuff on YouTube or on TikTok and different social media elements that lost their medical licenses because they went against the system of the COVID shot. Why would a doctor who went to school telling its patients to not do these things would lose their medical license? The doctors are there to, supposedly, are there to help you. And when they do help you with an alternative medicine or an alternative option, they get punished. Pharma influence crosses party lines so cleanly, it's suspicious. Campaign contributions, lobbying, revolving doors, both sides. Bills that expand patents or weaken oversight pass with bipartisan fanfare. The smell of rigging is strong because the game is rigged at the structural level. And you see this as a win. We're told on CNN and Fox and whatever news you watch by the president, whoever that person is, whether it's Trump or Biden or whoever's sitting behind the chair, that they've done all this stuff to help you get your medicine, get your insulin, get your this, get your that, get your Ozempic so you can lose weight. Historical parallels into inter-party or elite collusion. 19th century political machines were parties traded favors. The 1824 corrupt bargain election, modern examples of both parties protecting certain industries while pretending to fight. The pattern repeats. Surface drama for the public, real power protected behind the curtain. The medical cartel is part of a larger web. Banking, energy, media, tech. Rockefeller didn't act alone. Networks of foundations and interests coordinated. Same players or descendants involved in multiple controls. Last commercial, we'll be right back. All right, guys, after a long night researching the cartel or fighting the good fight, you need real rest. My Pillow, the pillow invented by a fellow freedom fighter who knows what it's like to take on the machine. Patented fill, machine washable, 10-year warranty, made in the USA. Get the best sleep of your life and support American manufacturing. Use promo code DTOM for huge discounts at My Pillow on sheets and the pillows and more. My Pillow, because you can't fight tyranny on no sleep. We'll be right back with final thoughts in just a second. Hang tight. All right, so we've connected the dots from 19th century apothecaries to Rockefeller's 1910 power grab. Through decades of suppression, over-medication engineered for profit, natural remedies buried, and the inter-party rigging that keeps the machine humming. Mullins was right. The medical conspiracy against America is real, and its effects, even in every single meeting, wasn't recorded on camera. The incentives are obvious. The historical pattern is clear. The government and captured institutions have every reason to hide the full scope. So, what do? Question every pill. Research before you swallow. Prioritize real food, movement, sleep, sunlight, and proven traditional tools. Another thing. Back in the 1800s, do you know that hospitals used to have sun decks? During COVID, I got COVID. My wife got COVID. One of the best things for you was to be outside in the sun. What did the government want you to do? They wanted you to stay inside. Stay sick. Get the jab. Sunlight is one of the best things for you. It's true. Find doctors who think outside the captured system. Support medical freedom. And please spread this information, guys. The cartel hates when people wake up. They've been playing the long game since standard oil days, but Merica was built on resistance. Thanks for riding with me on this one, guys. Of course, I'm Donq, and this has been Don't Tread on America, guys. Stay vigilant, stay free. Don't tread on us, don't tread on America, and don't let them tread on your health. Guys, a couple of things. Make sure you follow the show on social media. Don't Tread America, Facebook, Instagram, True Social, and the Ticker Talker. Of course, on the Twitter X Machine, DTOM Podcast 1776, and on Rumble, DontTreadonMericaTV. Go to the website, DontTreadonMerica.com, and like I said, if you want to email me for anything, hit me up, DonQ at DontTreadonMerica.com. Also, whatever podcast app you're listening to this on, make sure you share this with your friends. If you're on Apple or Spotify, guys, please make sure to give me a review and a rating, preferably a 5-star. And check out the sponsor links. I'll put the new one on there when I get this done. Celsius, check them out, guys. You'll get a nice little deal, and you get you some Celsius. It's a good drink. It's actually one of the cleanest energy drinks out there. It's something I use. I don't do energy drinks every day, but when I do Celsius. And I did say do. Other than that, guys, you have a great day, and I will talk to you again probably on Sunday. Other than that, stay healthy, stay wealthy, do your research. Have a great day. We'll talk later. See ya.